Made in Hollywood.
The comic book adventure Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, is made in Hollywood.
There was a lot that I was very capable of and being allowed to do, and I think that just allows for so much more for the audience watching, because you don't need to cut, we don't need to hide.
Made in Hollywood.
Also on today's show, Taron Egerton is forced to make an impossible decision in the action thriller Carry On.
I think my fear about it was that tonally we would push for something where he was too capable. And of course that's part of the character, is that he does rise to the occasion.
Plus, we sit down with the cast and filmmakers of the animated epic The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Michael Shannon stars in the sci-fi musical The End, and the romantic comedy Young Werther features Allison Pill. This week on Made in Hollywood.
Made in Hollywood.
The son of a ruthless gangster is transformed into the world's most fearsome predator as Aaron Taylor Johnson and Ariana DeBose star in the action thriller Kraven the Hunter.
I heard the noise of thunder.
Are you like your father? A gangster? A killer?
And I heard a voice.
Kraven the Hunter is one of the most highly anticipated films of the year. For moviegoers who are sitting in their theater seats right now, what can they expect to experience?
I don't think there's much to it you can expect, because it's gonna blow expectations in a sense of, like, the action is insane.
You know, this is a Sony Marvel picture and an origin story about Kraven and how he came to be. So I was very reliant on what the script was giving, I suppose.
And he decides who to free and who to blame.
Yes, an animal stronger than you can imagine.
When I decided to take this on, it was both the physical stunts and, quite frankly, the emotional backbone of the character was always this fun and exciting and insane, but at its core, a very visceral, kind of dark place.
There's this real sort of heart and soul to this story about these two brothers who are fundamentally in this toxic environment under their mobster, power-hungry father, Russell Crowe. It's what sets my character on this path of becoming a villain.
We'll stand up.
Tell me about this hunter.
Some are born and some are dying.
Once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
Right away, what I saw in your performance, some of Kraven's abilities, which are superhuman strength, speed and agility. So take me through the process of tapping into this role physically, and I'd love to know how much of the stunt work you actually did yourself.
Yeah, I was very fortunate in the fact that the stunt team kind of really embraced me into the team to collaborate. There was a lot that I was very capable of and being allowed to do, and I think that just allows for so much more for the audience watching, because you don't need to cut, we don't need to hide.
You know, we worked with our stunt team to try and keep things grounded in a way, but the fact that he just never gives up is really the superpower that he's got.
I did have a few moments where I got to play a little bit. And I very much relied heavily on my skills as a dancer.
Whoever is righteous,
Hunting for a trophy.
let him be righteous still.
Just like our father.
I want to be able to do that as well as give this character some depth. I trained really hard, put on 200 pounds of muscle. That was the costume. That's the look that was on the comic book. And I owed it to that fan base and give it that Marvel approval, which I hold really high, the high standard.
I can't say enough about how much I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he's spectacular in this film, and he's spectacular as the character, in my opinion.
Embrace who you really are, son.
When the man comes around.
Now available on your home screen. In the high-stakes thriller Carry On, Taron Egerton stars as a young TSA agent who on Christmas Eve is thrust into making the hardest decision of his life.
I love Christmas. I don't love that we're working Christmas Eve.
I'll see you at lunch.
It's the most wonderful time.
Good morning, Keegan. Good morning, day shift TSOs. You've all been chosen to spend your Christmas Eve here with 200,000 impatient travelers.
I just wanted him to be a bit useless. You know, that was the main thing. I think my fear about it was that tonally we would push for something where he was too capable. And of course that's part of the character, is that he does rise to the occasion. But I think it works best when you feel like he might not. As I read the script, I was so happy to read a female role in an action movie that refreshingly wasn't a damsel in distress. And she, in a lot of ways, kind of ignites a spark inside of Ethan to find himself again and to find joy in living again. This isn't mine.
Ethan, today is a day that you're going to remember for a very long time.
Even if I say so myself, I think Jammer and I make a really good team. I really enjoyed his style of filmmaking. He's always got his eye on clarity and kind of the cleanness of the storytelling and making everything feel economic and crisp, and I think that's a really great quality. He was like, look, I cast you both because I believe you are Ethan and you are Nora, and I trust you to tell that story. But once the cameras are rolling, kind of gave us free reign.
He just understands action. He understands the thrilling movement. He gets how to make something dynamic.
An associate of mine is going to step into your line, and you are going to make sure that his bag clears the machine.
Every inch of it was very clear on the page. And that was why I was like, oh, I want to do this. Let's go do this.
We have a 911 call placed from inside LAX.
Die Hard was our North Star and compass in making this film, in joining those two beloved genres, holiday and action movies, together. You don't expect the places it's gonna go, because it feels like a Christmas movie. And then they take you on this wild adventure.
People love Christmas stuff. You know, they love a rom-com Christmas, they love a historical Christmas, they love an animated Christmas, and they love an action Christmas. I'm really pleased with how the movie turned out, and I hope people like it, because if people are watching this movie in 2025, I will be a very happy man.
Sit right back down. You leave that post, there's gonna be consequences.
We gotta go.
What I like about the movie is it really kind of puts people doing that job on a pedestal and celebrates them. I hope that people who do that job watch the movie and feel good about it and feel well represented.
You're pathetic, and you're asleep. I guess I woke up.
Coming up, we go back to Middle-earth with the cast and filmmakers of the animated epic The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. To find out where to watch any movie, scan the QR code so you can get notified to download the new MoviePhone app.
Well, the challenge at the beginning is keeping your excitement under wraps and trying to remain as professional as one can when they finally know out that they're going to be a part of one of the greatest franchises in the history of celluloid.
Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood.
A young king's daughter is forced to lead the resistance against a deadly enemy hell-bent on her family's destruction in The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim.
All Middle-earth knows the tale of the War of the Ring. But 200 years before that,
Riders of the Mark! Brothers of Rohan!
there was an older tale.
Well, the challenge at the beginning is keeping your excitement under wraps and trying to remain as professional as one can when they finally know out that they're going to be a part of one of the greatest franchises in the history of celluloid.
It's been a joy going back, actually. It's been kind of a more gentle, dipping my foot back in the waters moment.
We come with an offer to strengthen Rohan.
Hera, daughter of Helm, I, Wolf, seek your hand in marriage.
It's been 3 years of thinking about how to make something that would satisfy a huge amount of fans of live-action trilogy.
Getting to work with Kamiyama-san, he had such a sense of what he wanted to reach for.
Our fathers speak as if I were not even in the room. I do not want to marry you.
You do not seek an alliance. You seek a throne.
animation, even no matter how much detail it gives, how much sort of meticulously drawn, you cannot make it real. I wanted the live action fans to also feel there is no difference between looking at the live action and the animation.
Once they had asked us what we thought about anime, this story immediately popped up into my mind. At the very beginning of the conflict of this story is an unnamed female character.
What was that old poem you used to recite to me as a child?
She is a ferociously loyal, adventurous, wise young woman who begins as quite an archaic princess, I suppose.
The boy I knew would never wish for war.
The boy you knew is gone.
Kenji has a sort of ethereal quality whereby, because he doesn't speak English, so there's a lot of communication between me and him was through gestures, little grunts here and there, little noises. We learned to communicate in our own language.
Yeah.
I was told that the actors in Britain was not very used to kind of having the anime first and then do the voiceover afterwards. So we opted for what we called press go, which means that we had the actors to perform first.
All ready to go. All ready to rock and roll, as they say.
We'll never make it past the archers!
Enough!
When we did the first pass of it, of course, you don't have a visual aid at all. And as an actor, this is unlike anything I've ever done before.
As the character does come to life through the drawings, through the artwork, then it starts to dictate how you perform. And then you find your voice even more.
You think I am afraid of you?
You should be.
To find out where to watch any movie, scan the QR code so you can get notified to download the new MoviePhone app. Up next, the sci-fi musical The End features Michael Shannon, and Allison Pill stars in the romantic comedy Young Werther.
The challenging part about a lot of the musical numbers that involved the whole group is that Josh had something very specific in mind.
Made in Hollywood. Made in Hollywood.
The fragile ties holding a family together in an underground bunker begin to unravel upon the arrival of a mysterious young woman, as Michael Shannon stars in the sci-fi musical The End.
Did you ever consider inviting more people?
Who could we trust? We had to think about you.
The seconds ticking past so fast.
When I first met with Josh, I had not seen the documentaries. I had heard about them. They're rather legendary. So I had a pretty fresh palette going into it.
After I made The Act of Killing and The Look of Silence, I really wanted to make a third documentary. And I found a family, an oil tycoon and his family elsewhere in Asia. And he was also seeking to buy a bunker. I realized, gosh, the film I'd like to be making would be the fly on the wall documentary with this family 25 years after they moved in.
Someone's here.
Can you see how she got in? No!
I knew, I'll make a film. It will be a musical set 25 years after a family's moved into a bunker like this.
Josh talks about these three films, Act of Killing, Look of Silence, and The End, as being a triptych.
We live here.
We must be a family.
What about your family?
They're gone.
So you're alone?
I'm really disinterested in doing something that's been done before.
I think I always search for the perfect merging of form and content, the form that is just right for what I'm working with. So in this case, it wasn't that it wasn't the post-apocalyptic narrative so much as the musical. It's the fact that it's a musical is what makes it a film about delusion.
I think I like her.
But you've never met anybody before.
We rehearsed quite a bit before we started filming. The challenging part about a lot of the musical numbers that involved the whole group is that Josh had something very specific in mind.
When the stories, the lies they tell themselves, the self-delusion starts to unravel. The songs are these luminously beautiful lies, and the truth sings or screams through in the silences when they can't sing anymore.
I just don't understand why she's here.
if you're going to go through all that, then you better make something that's unique. And I definitely feel like he's accomplished that.
What the hell did you tell her?
None of it's true.
A charismatic young writer disrupts his life on a reckless quest to win the heart of an engaged woman in the romantic comedy Young Werther, featuring Alison Pill.
Werther?
Werther?
Werther.
Hello, Werther?
I'm Werther, by the way.
Glad you're a normal person.
Well, let's not say terrible thing.
In the novel, I was made to read during university, and I liked it just fine at the time, but stuck it on a shelf, and then years later, pulled it down, was like, why has this not been a major English language feature?
I read the screenplay without having looked at who was involved. I laughed out loud, and I was so in love with the dialogue. And then I went back to the rest of the email and realized that it had been written by my friend of 20 years, Jose.
I loved the world that Jose had drawn. I didn't know the original work to start with, but when I researched it, I liked the way that he'd woven it in, and I found his dialogue very fun, very funny, and just liked his tone.
And so there was this personal element of, I want to, support Jose in whatever way I can.
Werther, I should have mentioned
You're
I'm
what?
engaged.
What?
Charlotte loves Albert, and you like Charlotte.
It's been adapted many times in Europe in many different ways. Operas, plays, it's been a manga.
I met the girl I want to spend the rest of my life with, so there is no way I'm just going to leave town and let her stupid fiancé have her. I'm Werther.
Ah, Charlotte told me all about you.
He's perfect, a worthy opponent.
As your job as an actor is to never judge your character, try and understand where they're coming from. You've got this, this very privileged guy who's come from a background where he's probably never had a real hug from his mum.
In many ways, Werther is a child. And some of what comes with that is a level of selfishness and unawareness of consequences.
Like in the writing of it, just tried as much as possible to channel what's there in the source material, where he's this hopeless, reckless romantic. But more than anything, I think it's Doug's performance in the film that makes it work. He brought a lot of himself into the character, and I'm so excited for people to see his interpretation.
We're just friends. You look at all your friends like that?
To me, everything's beautiful.
Stay tuned, there's more coming up on Made in Hollywood.
Made in Hollywood.
Thanks for watching Made in Hollywood, powered by MoviePhone. For more behind-the-screen content, check out MoviePhone.com.
Made in Hollywood.